all right, I want this to be relatively quick. It's going to have some spoiler review stuff and non-spoiler in reverse order. So non-spoiler first. I'm always going to be totally transparent about how I feel about any of these books that I review here. Sometimes things will be a bit of a miss. Sometimes things will grow on me over time. Like, I will usually turn on the camera sometimes minutes after I finish the book. And that's what happened here. Whether some of my opinions will change over time, I think that often happens, and it often happens with subsequent books. But I want to hear what people think of this if they have read this. Now, my non-spoiler review is that there are elements about this book that I really, really, really liked, and other elements of this book that made it the one that I really detest. I really didn't like this book in so many ways until the very ending of the book. And then the very ending of the book is like this, is icicle, this cold kick in the crotch from Stephen King. Now, as I continue in the series, I don't want people to click off if I don't want people to think that I'm just being negative about the series, because I'm not. I still think it's fantastic. I still think it's great. But to kind of explain why I'm sour about it, and I so feel for the people who read this when it just came out. Holy smokes. But I love Star Trek. I'll often bring it up. Some of my favorite Star Trek isn't the movies. Actually, if you want a good if you don't want to go through the whole TV show, some of my favorite stuff is the season finales that go into the season openers of the next season. That's very much what happened here. And I'm thinking of like the Borg episodes, which was the season finale. I can't remember which season of The Next Generation, but it very much ends at a massive cliffhanger. And, you just have to wait. I remember when that came out, and we all just had to wait for the next part. And it very much happened here, and I can't imagine waiting years for whenever the next book came out. This is very much like 3A, and I imagine that the next book is like 3B, and they should be held in one. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel about this part of the freaking story that I'm in, because I wasn't looking to go right into 3B or book 4 called Wizard and Glass, but now it's almost like it's forcing me to. But I'm not going to take his bait. So, also there's this author's note. As you're getting to the end of the book, you are just getting to this amazing stuff, and you're thinking, "Oh no, the end of the book. There's not very many pages left. How is he going to wrap this up?" And he doesn't. And then he has this author's note where he almost says, I was just as surprised. He this is what he says: "I am well aware that some readers of The Wastelands will be displeased that it has ended as it has, with so much unresolved." It's like, at least he's self-aware of that. But it does also kind of feel like in this next part, he says, like, even I was surprised with how it ended. I thought, well, you wrote the bloody book. It makes me wonder if he even had something in mind for when he finished this, or if he just thought, well, this is an interesting ending, but I really have no idea where this is going. Let me just end it here. So I don't know, but that's how I feel so far. There are elements about this book that I really didn't like. There are some Western elements that I really liked near the ending. A showdown, kind of a dual showdown, is very much a Western thing. And it has that at a few points, but really at the end, this really bold portion regarding Roland and and it's in a different way than you would see in like a Clint Eastwood movie. I thought that was really great. That was the highlight for me. And then we kind of just finished the bloody book. So I want to get to the spoiler stuff because I think people watching this, a lot of people will have already read it. And there's a lot to talk about. Now, we're in the spoiler section. All right. So I don't know if I'm very much a mood reader where I just read what I'm feeling at the time. My TBRs just kind of go all over the place. I don't know if I liked this less because of me also reading Sailing to Sarantium, which I am loving Sailing to Sarantium, but I'm going slow with that, very, very slow. And I'm also reading the final book of the Library trilogy, which I love the Library trilogy. Book 2 is a little bit of a miss for me, but I've already started that as well. And I don't know if it's the fact that I just love a lot of these other things that I'm reading, that this kind of was a little bit of a slog for me. Now, there are some highlights. Biggest highlight, Jake's back. Jake's back. I loved book 1 mostly because I love the dynamic with Jake and Roland. And because of the stuff that happened in book 2, it had this weird paradox where Roland is remembering the time of Jake being dead, but also being alive because he kind of intervened in that world, in the world where he was about to be killed. But then this is also happening with Jake, where he's kind of having this dual thing going on. And I thought that was interesting, though I will say that I only really am looking forward to rereading The Gunslinger out of the first 3. I'm not looking forward to rereading The Drawing of the Three, maybe ever, because I just am so not interested in the New York stuff that happened in The Drawing of the Three. I thought it was interesting to get to. That might change by the time I'm done, and maybe years have passed, and I thought I'm just going to go through it again. But I have just not liked. I found them to be a bit of a slog. That part. I don't want to watch the formation of the crew again. And that kind of goes for the first half of this, where we're spending so much time with Jake. I thought it was interesting, and now I know that backstory, but I don't really want to go through 300 pages of that again. Now, the conclusion of that first half, where he finally comes back, and I thought the stuff in this haunted house with the ceramic demon guy, like, that was a highlight, even though it was weird. Like, the stuff with Susanna distracting him, where her Detta self comes out, and, if you've read it, where that goes. That was a little much. But I thought, finally we got to that moment, and I thought that was strong overall. But I didn't love the first half of this book. I liked the stuff with the training and the bear and like the little robot rats, or the other robot people, and I thought that was strong. I thought that was good for Eddie and Susanna. I have cooled a little bit on Eddie and Susanna, where I don't care about them as much as maybe other people do. I'm not sure. Depending on, I haven't looked at reviews to see kind of where people are at on that. I kind of want this just to be the Jake and Eddie, or Jake and Roland and Oi show. Like, Oi saved the book for me in a lot of ways. Another reason why I'm a little bit colder on these 2 books compared to The Gunslinger is the no Walter, no Randall Flagg, whatever, other than at the ending where it seems like we get him with this other name. I can't remember, but it starts with R and F again, talking with the TikTok man. And that's setting up stuff for the future, right? So again, I'm not sour on the series, I just am so not interested in the New York stuff. And if it keeps being a lot of that, I think that will dampen my opinion on the series, if I'm being very honest. But I do like that we are making some progress, but it seems like 3 books and we still aren't really getting anywhere. I liked the standoff with Roland and Blaine, the train. That's the part where I really like, where he just where Blaine is being very menacing, and Roland just won't have it. I did really like that stuff. I didn't get as much symbolic sorts of things that were hitting me. I might get that as we move on. But the plot dragged. The plot dragged a little bit for me, where I just wasn't having as much fun, which is interesting because so much more seemed to be happening with like Lud and the pubes, which, what the heck. But stuff was happening, but it just was that I wasn't as interested in a lot of that kind of stuff. The connection with Eddie and Jake for the first half. I just wanted Jake to be over. If that's where it was going, just bring him over. I really didn't care so much about all that happening. If I'm very, very honest, I didn't like the train and the riddles stuff so much. Like, there was so much about this train, and you knew it was happening. You knew it was going to show up. So because of the front of the cover, and there's just riddles throughout. I imagine if I just was more into riddles, I guess I would have enjoyed that more, but it just didn't hit for me so much. I thought the TikTok man was built up to be amazing, and then he kind of sucked. He kind of was just he was a little bit of a letdown, where I thought we were going to get to something great, and then it just sort of hit a wall. Now, that's not the end of TikTok Man. I was excited when, again, he's talking to who I assume is Randall Flagg, and then that's building something for later. But at this moment in time, TikTok Man wasn't as interesting as I was hoping for him to be. I thought that this book was a little bit bloated. Like, I just wanted to move on. I thought Oi was amazing. I've already mentioned that. I thought that we still don't know a whole bunch about what the tower is, and I still wonder at this moment, while Stephen King was writing this, did he know? Did he know what it was going to be? That's what makes me start to fear continuing with this, because I think, does he know? Does he know where he's going? Or is it just going to be one of those things where it just takes him on the journey? And that's fine. But I do like to feel like I'm in good hands. And I'm starting to worry a little bit about that for the series. Especially with how this ended. I gotta get a pop filter for this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about the series at the moment. We will continue on. I'm told that a lot of people really love the next one, and it has a lot of Roland's past. Like, I kind of want to take a break from Eddie and Susanna, to be honest, and I would be happy going to more of Roland's past. And maybe that will bring me back into being excited for the rest of the series. But as of right now, again, I'm only really excited to do a reread of The Gunslinger one day, and I'm happy that I know the things from book 2 and 3. But book 3 made me cool on book 2, because it felt like, oh, we're doing more New York again, even though it makes sense because of, anyway, I'm just venting, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel about it, and I hope I don't lose a bunch of people being interested in my take as we're going through that. But that is my very honest take of how things went with this one. I don't know when I'll go to book 4. I'm not feeling motivated to do it at the moment. I know it just built up like we're going right into book 4. I can't imagine. Like, I don't love this stupid train. I don't love Eddie. I think Susanna's better, more interesting than Eddie. But even then, I'm kind of cooled on her. I just want Roland and Jake, and I, I've cooled a little bit on it, but I am still going to go through it. Maybe in another month, unless it starts calling for me. We'll see. We'll see. But those are my thoughts coming right into it. So I'll talk to you guys on the next one, whenever that'll be.